with us from the administration. I don't see the DPP director, but we do have our BFS Deputy Director Carrie Castle with us. Please join us here. We would love to hear the administration's position on the bill and also take questions from the council members. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you, Budget Chair Cordero, Vice Chair Wire, Council Vice Chair Kiaina, and honorable council members. Thank you for the opportunity to share our testimony. So the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services submitted written testimony with expressing our concerns in creating a special fund for the Department of Planning and Permitting. If we look at the FY25 revenues for DPP, when in the detailed statement of revenues and expenses, or statement of revenues, I should say, it's estimated that for FY25, DPP will have $30.5 million of revenues. And yet their expenses, the budget for DPP is $32.2 million. So there's already a shortfall there of $1.7 million. That doesn't even include fringe benefits, which are appropriated in the miscellaneous section of the budget. So, it is our position that by creating the special fund for DPP, it really isn't, we don't perceive it as a driver to increase collection of fines and build revenue. Our position is that we seek compliance with the laws, and really that's what the public should be more concerned about, is compliance as opposed to trying to obtain more fines. The other thing that I'd like to mention here is there is another concern that as we start to create more special funds, it reduces our flexibility with respect to just general funds to be able to use for other resources as a whole. Another point that is, if we were to create a special fund for DPP, as with other special funds, we would incur additional administrative costs. DPP would be assessed a 5% case, again, along with all other special funds. So we're not seeing the benefit necessarily, but have more concerns with respect to setting up this special fund.
Thank you very much. I know that you're coming from the standpoint of BFS, but I know that DPP isn't here, but are we able to hear the standpoint from DPP as well?
I believe that we are in sync with DPP. I know that Director Puna was here earlier in the day, so we are in sync with DPP's position as well, expressing concerns.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, are there questions for the City Administration, our Deputy Director, Carrie Castle? Councilmember Tupola.
Oh, Deputy Director, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I did read through you guys' testimony. I just had a few questions. So, especially with special funds, right? How many special funds do we have in this city? I know we're saying it's not a good idea. Honestly, on the state side, we actually tried to dissolve all of them because they were just pockets of money. But what other special funds do we have?
Oh my gosh, we probably have over 20 or so special funds, whether it's liquor commission, that's probably one of the bigger ones, but E&B, there's just a host of special funds throughout.
And do any of these special funds directly fund any department?
They do, yes.
So in this particular testimony that you guys gave, you're saying that, taking into consideration like overtime and all these other things. So tell me the difference between ones that are currently funding departments and this one being suggested.
I think with this particular special fund, I guess what we're seeing is that we're already seeing a deficit, if you will, a negative between what the proposed revenue that is generated by DPP and what their expenses are. So if we were to create the special fund, it would be like self-sustaining. So, we wouldn't be transferring monies in from the general fund into the special fund in order to have DPP really pay for itself.
So you're saying that the special fund is suggesting to be the sole source of funding the department as opposed to the other special funds where they are a additional source of funding the department?
So like Liquor Commission, for example, that is, they stand on their own.
That's an entire thing of itself.
Okay. The Honolulu Bay is another example, that.
I guess those are different. What I'm talking about is this is a department, right? Those ones like the Liquor Commission, Hanalma Bay, those are specific entities that have their own costs and whatnot. So you're saying that the difference here is that we're suggesting to solely fund the department based on the special fund, and that's not recommendable.
I guess I would ask for clarity from the introducer, from Council Member.
Okay, yeah, that's a good
DeSantos.
idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, any questions for our Deputy Director, Carrie Castle? Okay, Councilmember Tupola, if you would like to pose a question to me, that is also posing the question to the introducer.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm not in favor of this bill, but my question was, their statement said that this special fund is not considering overtime and other things, as if this special fund would be the sole source to fund the department, which I don't think that was the intent of this bill. So is this special fund supposed to replace everything and be the sole source of funding this department, of which I don't think it is, but I need clarification.
Thank you. I would like to ask the introducer of the bill for clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Bill 20 is a starting point. To be clear, part of the delta between the department's revenues for this fiscal year and what they're asking for is because of the grant monies for the Bill 7 projects that I understand we're going to be continuing to talk about this spring. So there's $5 million parked in there. But even when you take that out and you look at previous years, the department actually comes fairly close with the revenues that they bring in and their expenditures. Not what they're asking for each year, because that's a different amount than what they often get appropriated. And so if you actually look back at their actual appropriations versus actual expenditures, and you have to take the following fiscal year's data and kind of go backwards from there, it actually is fairly close. Now that said, this doesn't preclude us from putting in additional money if the department needs help, but I think the idea was, if the department can go out and actually do its job, and part of its job is processing permits faster and getting it done in this fiscal year rather than 2 fiscal years down the road, they can actually reinvest that money into the department's operations to make it better. So I think that's it. A lot of people focus on the fines aspect, but it's also processing the permit fees faster, getting it out the door, and using that money to improve the department. Because frankly, I think we as the council have tried a lot of things to improve this department and providing a lot of support, but it all comes back to money. It all comes back to staffing, and as the mayor says, people, process, and technology. All of these things require help.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Tupola, any other questions? Okay, so as you all know, we normally don't vote no on first reading bills. I did share my opposition to this bill, but I did think it is warranted to have a discussion in my committee because of sunshine law, we can't flesh out these discussions, find out clarity without these discussions, right? Well, my questions, they weren't specifically for BFS, but I guess for further clarification to the city administration, if the department were to retain fines that is issued through a special fund, would the department change any of its operations to then accommodate the fund? Once again, I know you're not a DPP, but I was wondering if you happen to know that.
We would have to, but I did want to share that I know the concern is, what are we doing differently so that DPP can really do enforcement and collect fines? I'm sorry that Director Puna is not here today, but She shared last week that they are really at the cusp of implementing new technology and utilizing almost $15 million of SLFRF monies. So they are, again, right at the cusp of making great improvements and inroads into automation implementation so that the tracking, the enforcement, the collection of fines is improved.
And may I ask, from the BFS standpoint, like what type of operations would you have to make to accommodate the fund?
Extra administrative costs that would be involved, time and costs.
Okay, thank you. And as the financial leg overseeing, assisting and supporting are out of compliance?
I will say again, sorry to, I don't want to
I know,
speak
it's
for
an awkward
director,
situation. I know.
but from the fiscal perspective, speaking from Department of Budget and Fiscal, knowing that DPP is implementing new technology and what that technology is going to do, then yes, we're very encouraged by what they are about to implement and execute.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I know with timing, it would have been great to have our DPP director with us, for sure. Members, are there any other questions before we move to testimony? Councilmember Say.
Madam Chair, since this is first reading,
After first reading, it's in committee, and then,
this is
yeah.
No, I'll be in support of continued dialogue.
Okay. Okay, members, any other discussion before we move to testimony? Okay, we don't have any we don't have any registered remote testifiers. Oh, we do. I'm sorry. We do have registered remote testifiers. I'm sorry. Okay, we have registered remote testifiers. We have Richard Fernandez, followed by Ralph Furley, followed by Cecilia Gomez, followed by Patrick Riley. Are any of the members, people I've mentioned online? Seeing none, I do note that they did submit testimony, which I saw. And you can see that online on H&L Docs, okay? Is there anyone else online who wishes to testify? I do have a number, 808, last three digits, 759. Which item on the remainder of the agenda do you wish to testify on? Please, oh yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, sorry. This is Dawn Apuna. Sorry, I was trying to get in. This is Director DPC. I'm sorry I wasn't, I was trying to get into the meeting, so I only heard really bits and pieces, but if you have questions for me, I'm available to answer them.
Council
Chair, I would prefer that, just due to the time frame, that we take testimony first, and then during discussion, we can ask questions to the DPP director.
Yes. Okay, so we're still in testimony. Is there anyone else online who wishes to testify? Okay, seeing none. Okay, we'll come back to you, Director Apuna. Okay, next we have, we don't have any registered in-person testifiers, but is there anyone else in person who wishes to testify? Please come to the podium. Please state your name for the record and your testimony. Oh, please press the on-off button there. Do you see that? Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Victoria Johnson. I bought my home here in 2005 with the intention of making it a rental because it's a duplex. I have rented it out since then. The DPP does not clearly define how they're fining us, what the rules are, and all of a sudden I received a notice that my calendar was not blocked. I had no idea I was supposed to be blocking a calendar. I don't do software. I'm not a techie kind of person. So I immediately got a $10,000 fine. I couldn't get any hearings. I placed 64 phone calls to Perry Tamayo and to the Office of DPP asking how I can do an appeal. Never got a response, couldn't do the appeal. Then I got told, too bad, you got to pay it. And if you don't pay it, we're going to lien your house. You can't get your driver's license and you can't renew your car tags. I could not find any attorney willing to take the case because they did not know how to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals, and because I missed my quote deadline, I was forced to pay it. They made a payment plan for me, which was nice, $100 a month, and I said, I may die before it's paid off. They immediately slapped a lien on my property without giving me the time to even refi to pay it. So now, the second fine I got was because I volunteered as part of Airbnb's program to house Maui fire victims. They fined me. Now I know the process, so I'm going to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals and say, hey, I was only trying to help the neighboring island. Now you want to fine me again? So I think this is a really bad measure because DPP doesn't have the training. They don't have their limited resources. We're going to ask them to be able to use the money that they take from us. And when we say individuals, we're not talking big investors and groups. It's ma and pa's like me that are suffering and paying the fines. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I really appreciate you for sharing that. Thank you. Members, do you have any questions for Ms. Johnson? No? Thank you very much, and I thank you for your patience. I saw you waiting out there for us. Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to testify? Angela Young.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES in strong support. So the special fund for DPP, a special fund is the establishment of financial operations dedicated to smaller scale projects. A special fund is a focused fund on a particular initiative or to effectuate the purposes of a public policy. Special funds are used to account for those types of revenues that are legally restricted to being spent for a specific purpose, except for expendable trusts or major capital projects. So for example, I am in support of the DPP special fund, but I will rationalize this by talking about a different special fund, okay? Because I can't explain it just like within, trying to explain it like within DPP, okay? So Art Special Fund is a fund from the State Foundation of Culture and the Arts, and the Art Special Fund funds the infrastructure in art, culture, and integrated media. So 1% of all construction costs of new buildings goes to enhancing art and the humanity of buildings so they're just not empty buildings. And the art supports the infrastructure, training and equipping artists to play at concerts at the museum. So when you create the policy for a special fund, that's when you legislate the parameters of the special fund in the law that is setting the parameters for the special fund. So, DPP special fund can go towards supporting research about infrastructure to create more density, or whatever the DPP wishes that the special fund should go towards.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in person who wishes to testify?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, Aloha Director. Question. I had voiced some concern about this in the first reading, and my main concern was that we've been making quite a bit of progress with DPP, with your processes, and I didn't want anything to impede that as far as, people feeling like the department was fining people to make money or raise money, of which I know that's not the intent of the introducer, but there is the possibility that could be the perception. What is your position on this particular bill?
So we really do appreciate the intent of this bill, that the council and Councilmember Dos Santos Tam believes that we should have more resources. So we really do appreciate the intent of the assistance of this bill. I think that you're right, that we are going through major transformational changes in so many different areas now and in the next 18 months. So it would be difficult for us to kind of take this on, also knowing that payment systems, et cetera, are being built within our technology as well as building the processes. So if anything, first of all, we defer to BFS, but we think that because we're going through so many changes right now, it probably wouldn't be prudent for us to start this, process or this ability to collect money towards a special fund for DPP.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, we still have our DPP director with us online. Any questions? Okay, Chair has questions that I asked BFS Director Apuna. I asked Deputy Director Castle this, but I'm going to ask you as they're meant for you. Is that okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So if the department were to retain the fines it issues in a special fund, would the department have to change any of its operations to accommodate this special fund?
I'm not sure, but I think we may have. I think if we have more oversight of how the money is coming in and used, I'm sure that that's something that our ASO would have to look at and figure out how to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. And I know that we've heard a lot. We've discussed the changes and improvements and processes that you're looking to improve, but how effective or efficient do you see your department currently at finding and collecting fines from entities or individuals that are out of compliance?
So we do have a backlog in our fine collection, our code compliance branch. We only have 2 staff members there, and so there is a backlog. So we are having we're trying to figure out how we can give them more capacity. We also have the collections agency, but as far as us coming up to speed on a fine issuance, we need to really work on that and get that squared away.
Thank you. I do want to note that I had neighbors from my Honolulu area that, did watch the mayor's State of the City address, and, a lot of it, maybe like 30 minutes of it, revolved around your department. And there was talk about there's no backlog. That was reported that the mayor stated that. And so they came up to me and scoffed that there's no backlog, but now we're talking about we still have backlogs. Is that correct?
That's correct. I think the mayor was speaking to the pre-screen backlog. That was cleared, but it's now shifted to the code review. So we have a backlog in the code review. They wouldn't, there's no major change in the overall processing of the permit because the backlog has shifted. So we're focusing on the code review part.
Okay.
And when we get through that, I think there's also some backlog in the stormwater, so in other areas, but we're working through all of that, and we hope to be in much better shape in, again, 18 months when a lot of these things have been fully implemented.
Mahalo. Next, we have Council Vice Chair Kia Aina for you.
I just wanted to make a statement for the record, Chair, if you don't mind. And I am in receipt of both BFS and DPP's statement. So I'm actually glad you guys have it in writing, and it's clear that DPP is deferring to BFS overall. And I understand the concerns. I share some of those concerns because you are doing as much as possible. You guys are on overload, and so to throw this on you right now might not be the best time. Having said it, it's a good dialogue to have. I personally have thought about creating a special fund for the Department of Parks and Recreation, and I have paused on it because of the fact that I just didn't want to upset the apple cart at the moment, but it's something that I know I've shared with Chair Toba, and it's something on my mind. So I don't blame Councilmember Dos Santos Tam for doing this. So I would be in favor of moving this out and flushing it out to have the public opine on it and have us further discuss it. And during that time, since it's going to come back, if it passes full council, to the committee, and then you can determine at that point in time whether it's meritorious to defer it.
That's a good recommendation.
That would be my recommendation.
Okay. Members, I have stated my concerns, my opposition. I've stated it in a joint press release along with the introducer of the bill. So once again, thank you for that. That's very noble of you and very welcoming of you, first off. But I am open to further discussion. I do appreciate all the people that provided opposition testimony, which majority of it was in opposition. Sorry, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, I do have to note that. So I will let Councilmember Dos Santos Tam go ahead.
No, and I actually appreciate that. And I know, if you read through the opposition, a lot of it is really about frustrations that community members, people applying for permits, people who, are trying to do what they need to do and get hit by a fine. I wish Ms. Johnson were here because that sounds like her situation. But, there's just a lot of frustrations that go deeper than just whether there's a special fund or not. And the reality is a lot of these frustrations are also because, as the director alluded to, they just don't have the staffing to move certain things in a timely way and, perhaps answer, pick up every constituent's or community member's phone call and explain everything all the way through. They just don't have the time to do it, and they're really trying their best. And so, any way that we can get more resources there without impacting other city resources is something that we should be discussing and taking the merits of. But, I'm happy to defer to you and your leadership as the budget chair, whether we, move it forward today or, defer it for a future discussion in the committee. All of these proposals have sort of a long path forward, and it's all part of a bigger picture of improving DPP. So happy either way.
Thank you. First off, I think more people pay attention to the full council as opposed to my little old committee. So I do want to have this discussion. I think public hearing is a great time. It's something that I can go to my communities, kind of share what I have thoughts on, and then have them provide the testimony forward as well. But so with that, members, I will make a recommendation. Members, I will be, although I have voted no, I will vote with reservations for now, but noting I do have major concerns about this, okay? I know it sounds really weird, but I will have this out for public hearing. When it comes back to committee, I probably will plan to defer it moving forward. I'm just letting you all know how, very transparently, because I cannot tell this to all of you individually, okay? Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that. All right. The chair recommends that Bill 2024 be reported out for second reading and scheduling of a public hearing. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Reservations by the chair? Okay. Hearing none, so ordered. Moving forward, agenda item number 10, we have Bill 18, 2024, removing ordinances relating to pound masters. If that's okay, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, I'm going to have you do a little introduction to your bill, and then I'm going to have our Chief of Staff, Andy Sugg, be with us to testify for the administration.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be quick because noting the lateness of the hour, but the Pound Master is a position that was created over a century ago. Their job is to remove stray horses, mules, asses, hogs, sheep, goats, or cattle. And there has not been a Pound Master appointed. The last Pound Master was appointed in 2000. The last time that the Pound Master held an auction, which is part of the bill, was in September of 2000. The fees for collecting these animals is extremely low, and no one in the right mind is going to go herd up a goat and put it to auction for 50 cents. And so I think this is an opportunity for us to repeal some things that just simply aren't being done and clean up the ordinances a little bit. And as I've heard from the Oahu Cattlemen's Association, I think there's also an opportunity to discuss, well, if there's no Pound Master and we're not following this process, what is the process if a horse or mule or ass or hog or sheep or goat or cattle were to escape and run around on a city street? What is that process?
Thank you very much. Members, we have with us from the City Administration our Chief of Staff. Oh, where'd he go? Oh, there you are. Chief of Staff Andy Sugg, please introduce yourself and state the city administration's position on the bill.
Hi, Andy Sugg, Chief of Staff to the Mayor, Chair Cordero, Deputy Chair Wire, council members. We are in full support of Councilmember DeSantis-Tam's bill to eliminate the pound master position. As he stated, it's been more than 20 years, and the Humane Society seems to be able to handle this without that position on the books.
Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much, Chief of Staff, for being here. Appreciate it. I think this is only the second time we've seen you, but we want to see you more, so keep coming. Unfortunately, I'm super disappointed you guys are in support of this because the Humane Society does not handle that. And I would say that I have wild animals running around my district that I would love to have a pound master. So I just attended the cattlemen's meeting on Saturday, of which we extensively discussed who's supposed to go get random animals. Guess what? Not the Humane Society. So they have a $6 million contract from the city for spade and neuter, but when we have dogs or wild animals in encampments, homeless encampments, guess who gets the animals? The police officers. We intend for police officers to go chase down wild dogs and whatever else because there's no one else to do it. So I did talk with the introducer, and I do propose that we work with the Cattlemen's Council, who is a nonprofit. We are saying in a resolution that, or in a law, that the nonprofit is going to handle this. Not true. No nonprofit handles governmental business unless they're asked to or unless they have a contract for it, of which they don't. The Oahu Cattlemen's Council has no contract for this. They don't have the wherewith, they don't have the bandwidth, they don't have support staff. And moreover, it states in the law that whoever catches this animal is supposed to then feed it, water it, take care of it, auction it. If you make money, good luck. So I do hope that in the future we can do a little bit of research on this. Again, it's very rare. It's how do I describe this? It's rural district problems, not everybody has cattle running through the road right by Ko'olina, but we do. So I would really appreciate working with the administration to reinstate a pound master. And if we're not going to go the direction of the pound master, we could have the Humane Society conversation, but let's be honest, I think that they're highly understaffed to be able to do hogs, pigs, asses, goats on top of dogs, cats, and whatever else. And I've had to haul animals off the road myself because nobody will get it. So I do think that in the city, people do suppose that that's something that we would handle. And I hope we can work together to try to reinstate this, but make it reasonable, not pay the person $100 a day and the assistant $3 a day, of which I get it. The law was amended in 1979, so it's a little outdated, but this doesn't change the fact that this is something we need in the city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. You make good points. I have a question for you. Why has this gone on for 20 some odd years without being addressed to this point?
I'll be honest with you. I went to the meeting because a member of my community, my classmate's brother, was shot in the head. You know why? Because a wild dog attacked his calf, and when he tried to rip the dog off, he had to shoot and put down the dog because he wouldn't let go of him, and then he got shot in the head. So we discussed this about the safety of ranchers, farmers, and while we were having this discussion, everyone shared that this has been something that they, as a community, the Cattlemen's Association, the people who are just regular average citizens of the county have been trying to handle, which is, whose animal is this? Whose fence needs to be mended to make sure that the cattle stays in? So to answer your question, I think it's gone on for a while because these good members of the community have put their own efforts, their own funds forward to try to keep some type of order to loose animals, and they've been expending their own money to do it. So I don't know why other council members in rural districts didn't bring it up, but I thank the introducer for bringing it up because the word pound masters is totally new to me. Never used it in my life. I'd like to use it from now on. Let's have a pound master. Thank you.
Okay. Mahalo.
Committee Vice Chair Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And I actually do echo Councilmember Tupola's sentiments just in terms of, I think that's a great question. I don't know why it hasn't been filled. I don't know that the answer is necessarily pound master versus some other methodology, but I do think we need to evaluate how we can better respond and meet the needs of the community, because Hawaiian Humane Society covers a very specific type of activity. And so I think, you know, looking at whether we need to do contract services or look at city positions, my hope is that we can continue this conversation, because I know budget's going kind of late, or not late, but we've had a long day. So I don't know the chair's intention, but I would definitely want to continue to engage on this issue as well, further in committee versus passing it out. Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Members, any other discussion? Okay, Councilmember Chipola.
You know, Budget Chair, similar to what we discussed about agricultural theft. I don't know if it was Councilmember Wire who put it in, but
Council Chair Waters.
Okay, so agricultural theft is a real thing. So just in general, agricultural issues, meaning lost animals, stolen animals, poaching, basically trespassing on people's property. To Councilmember Wire's point, perhaps this is a little bit outside of the scope of a pound master, because I asked HPD, do you handle agricultural theft, or is it DLNR, or who does this? So the previous law, or the laws on the book, stated that this pound master would get paid per day. They would try to go find the owner of the animal, and if not, auction it off. And maybe to date, some of that's outdated. I say we sit down with the Cattlemen's Council and we come up with a better proposal. And if it is that it not be a pound master but an actual position, then in what department does that go? Because I don't think it'd be in HPD. I don't think it'd be in DFM. That's where I kind of think that we have to think through this a little bit longer. So to your point, Chair, like if there could be more discussion on this and kind of parse this out, because it does affect the budget, whatever happens with us moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, we have Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Thank you, Chair. And I think I agree with the sentiments of my neighbor here, Councilmember Tupola, as well as Councilmember Wire. A little bit of history as well. If you look at ROH 3-4, that's a pound master. 3-5 is animal control. That deals with specifically farming out animal control to the Humane Society, but that's for dogs and cats. And I think that it would reason that if we were to repeal the pound master, there may be a role for the city to identify a contractor. Maybe it is a nonprofit like the Cattlemen's Association that we're contracted with, and if they need to go track down one of these cattle that's roaming around in Ko'olina or somewhere else, that there's a set price, that there's a procedure to deal with it. But what's currently there is just isn't, it's not being put into place, it's outdated, and again, nobody's gonna do these things for $5 for a bull or whatever.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Councilmember Tupola.
Sorry, last one. I just need to say this because a lot of my community members are watching, but I just wanted to say that I just send my deepest condolences to the Pia family for the death of their son. The way this happened and the need that we have on agricultural lands and for our ranchers is large. It is an area that is unprotected, not safe in some aspects, and for lack of a better word, kind of the gray area, because it's somewhere between DLNR and the city. So I just wanted to thank those ranchers and cattlemen that did submit testimony, of which there was lots, because they have a lot to say. And I hope that through this process and with Councilmember Dos Santos' proposal, that we can bring their voices to a bigger platform so that they can be heard and that we can find resolution. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I do have a question for Chief of Staff. So Chief of Staff, when we had contracts like this, it oftentimes would be switched between different agencies. Right now CSD would oversee the contract over the chicken contract, or also the free roaming cats contract. And so prior to, for example, Sandwich Isles being contracted, we saw that the chickens would have to be on public property. And so for the pound master and the program to take effect, do you know if that these animals would then have to be caught on public property to be in effect, or are they able to, go to other people's properties? And that's the thing that I guess is so difficult. Not difficult. It's difficult to figure out when we don't even have a set process or person or contract to expend such a program. So your thoughts, your
Yeah.
ideas?
I'm sorry, I don't know exactly, Chair Cordero. Like Councilmember Topola, I had not heard of the Pound Master position until recently, but I can look into that and get back to you for sure.
Thank you. I would like to ask Councilmember Dos Santos Tam if you happen to know that if any of that history by chance?
Specifically, the last Pound Master?
For if the Pound Master was in effect, the program was in effect, if the Pound Master would be able to assist catching these animals on private property, or did they have to be on public property like how our chickens had to be before?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, but I think that it's something we can look at and explore. I believe it was just on public property because I think if it were private property, people could just steal cattle from somebody else's farm.
That's true. Okay, thank you. Members, I know that there are a few discussions. This is a little more convoluted than, of course, we anticipated. So, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, would you be willing, if I kept this in my committee, I can take this up next month just to have the discussion. There are questions that we can come up with, that we can receive responses to, especially with the process, because there is that understanding of a possible process, right? I just want to know what that is now. So I do want to, I am setting the date for my next committee meeting because not just to pass it out, but especially to find out the responses. So if that's okay, members? Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, and then
Chair.
followed by Councilmember Topola.
Sure, I have no objections to that. We, again, haven't had a Pound Master in place for 23 and a half years, so I think we can wait 2 or 3 more months.
Okay, Councilmember Topola.
Just respectfully, I wanted to ask if I could work with the introducer to convene with the Cattlemen's Council, which might be more than a month, but I just want them to not feel rushed, because if they have better suggestions and there's a better procedure, like he said, we should take the time and do it right. Yeah. Thank you.
Excuse me. All right, so noted, that will take time. I will then, I will make a motion and I'll just leave the date open, okay? Hold on. I will now take testify. Thank you, Chief of Staff. I will now take testifiers. We don't have any registered remote testifiers, but is there anyone else online who wishes to testify? Seeing none, we will now move on to in-person testifiers. We don't have any registered in-person testifiers, but is there anyone else in person who wishes to testify? We have Angela Melody Young. Please proceed.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young, testifying in support of repealing the Pound Master's ordinance. So Bill 18. So, you know, sometimes when things are from the Byzantine Empire, like auctioning Pound Master animals, there can really be consideration of updating the public policies. A Pound Master or Pound Keeper was a local government official responsible for the feeding and care of stray livestock such as domestic pigs, cattle, sheep, and geese. And this was common in colonial America and continued into the 19th century. Unlike today, the control of stray pets are not the duty of a Pound Master. So, okay, within the work of the DLNR and the DOA, there's a difference when they classify agriculture animals and pets. Agriculture animals are farm animals and classified statutorily differently than cats and dogs. The purview of the DLNR and DOA is different when it comes to farm animals, livestock versus cats and dogs. And the liability of cats and dogs is managed by the Humane Society.
Please conclude, Angela.
And a nonprofit contracted by, I think, the Department of Community Services from the city, Fur Angel, and there was a Senate resolution to work with DOA to create sanctuaries.
Thank you, Angela.
Supported by those nonprofits.
Noting your support for the resolution, I mean, for the bill, excuse me.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, members, is there anyone, not members, is there anyone else in person who wishes to testify? Okay, seeing none, members, we are back in discussion, Councilmember, okay, all right. Members, any other questions? Okay, moving forward, the chair recommends that Bill 18, 2024 be where are we? Be postponed to a date and time to be determined by the chair. I do request maybe the introducer, just let me know when the best date to take it up again, yeah? Okay, and I won't set a date and time. Okay, thank you very much. Any discussion, any objections, any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving to the last item on the agenda, we have Bill 4, 2024. This amends ordinance number 28, hold on one moment. 0128, where are we? Amending the authorization of the City and County of Honolulu to issue general obligations commercial paper in order to clarify and facilitate the use of such short-term debt. We have with us from the administration, we have our Deputy Director, Carrie Castle, with us from the Budget and Fiscal Services.
Thank you, Budget Chair Cordero. Carrie Casso, Deputy Director, Budget and Fiscal Services, here to answer questions.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? Any questions? Okay, seeing none. Okay, there's no questions. We'll go to testimony. Is there? We don't have any registered remote testifiers. Is there anyone else online who wishes to testify? Seeing none, members, we don't have any registered in-person testifiers. Is there anyone else in person who wishes to testify? Seeing none, members, we're back in discussion. Okay. Seeing there's no other discussion, the chair recommends that Bill 4, 2024 be reported out for second reading and scheduling of a public hearing. Any discussion? Any objections? Any reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Members, there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.